I know you're tired of all the false promises online talking about how easy it is to make money on Amazon in a variety of ways. And whether you're a true beginner or you've even tried to make some money on Amazon for yourself, I'm sure you've come to realize that it's not as easy as a lot of people make it look. But at the end of the day, finding success making money on Amazon or online in general boils down to two extremely important things. The first thing applies to literally anything you ever want to do in your life. You have to be willing to put in effort. It's absolutely insane how many new entrepreneurs hop into selling on Amazon and expect to get rich on week one, and after they're not, they throw in the towel and they never try anything again. But I assume you're smart enough to know that it takes actual work to make real money on Amazon, and that's where the second point comes into play. Because if you try the wrong way of making money on Amazon, you can end up losing a ton of money, wasting time, and just making no progress. But between the 8 different ways to make money on Amazon that we're going to talk about today, your personal skill set, startup budget, interests are all going to come into play and might make one business model horrible for you and great for me, and vice versa. So consider this video your quick dive into every possible way of making money on Amazon, and at the end I'll reveal which one I've actually used to sell over $6 million on the Amazon platform and start working for myself on my own time for several years now. I'm going to take you through all of these ways to make money on Amazon, starting with the cheapest and easiest all the way up to the most expensive, typically the high risk, high reward options for selling on Amazon. And business model number 1 is extremely cheap to start. This is actually how I got my start selling on Amazon, and a ton of my friends who also sell on Amazon have now gone on to do millions in dollars in sales, but they almost all started by selling used books on Amazon. And yeah, people are actually still buying those online. The reason why selling used books on Amazon is such a great place to start is because it's really simple to get approved to sell things like used books, and they are abundant, right? Think about yard sales, thrift stores, anywhere that there are cheap donated products, there's probably going to be some books for you to buy and resell. And in fact, that's actually how I started my Amazon business. For about the first year of selling on Amazon, I drove around from thrift store to thrift store every day after my college classes, and I ended up making about $35,000 in profit after my first year with a lot of work, and I should not have done it that long, which is why I'm going to talk about all these other business models. But just so you can see how business model 1 works, let's actually cut back to a trip I made to a thrift store a little bit ago, and we're going to break down an example of a profitable book that I found in a store. This book, for example, I just kind of picked up off the shelf, scanned it, and it looks like it's going for like $8.50 in used condition. That's like the base here, and I believe we're buying this for $1. So this book actually is profitable. You know, you're only making $1 or $2, right? So it's not a home run by any means, but that book right there is a decent example. I was just going around scanning a ton of books. If you don't have a lot of money but you got hustle, that's the way to do it. This is like a medical book that's like a decent niche, right? Some of these that we've already found profitably are like, this one's politics, there's some religion in there, like some niche romance can be pretty good as well. This one kind of stuck out to me because it's like kind of a sleek material, the branding's pretty good, and a lot of times that means that the book sold really well. Might be still some demand on Amazon for it. To sell books on Amazon, you'll need $50 to $100 to just go buy some books at the thrift store. You can just scan stuff off your shelf. And that takes me to business model number 2, which is also extremely cheap to start, but it's very different because instead of selling products on Amazon yourself, even though they're really cheap in the case of used books, you can make money helping to sell other people's products on Amazon. And if you've been looking into the Amazon space, especially recently, you've probably seen some conversation about the Amazon Influencer Program, or AIP is how you'll see some people abbreviate it. But the very basic gist of how it works is you'll go ahead and sign up for an Amazon influencer account. Once Amazon approves you, your goal is to make short, usually 1 to 3 minute review videos of products that are already on Amazon. You can start by reviewing things that you already have in your house. So for some of you guys, it's going to be a $0 way to start making some money on Amazon. And if you want to see what this actually looks like, you can see these people down here are Amazon influencers. They've made videos and posted them on the back end of their influencer account. And you can see if someone goes on here and watches one of your video reviews of this product, let's say if I click on Peyton's review right here, and then I go in and I add this to cart and I buy it, Peyton is then going to make a percentage of that sale. And that percentage depends on the category that you're listing it in. The influencer program explains which categories make higher commissions. So it can be smart to focus on those higher commission categories. And if you do end up getting really good at the influencer program, brands will start sending you free stuff to review. But the easiest place to start is just by making videos of things that are already in your house. This is something that I've seen some of my friends even have success with. Even if you're not super business savvy, it's pretty straightforward. But the downside is that you do have to make a lot of videos before you start to get any kind of significant income. And of the people I've talked to, the most I've ever seen someone making is around $10,000 to $15,000 a month. I'm sure there's some monsters out there just crushing it with the Amazon influencer program, and that's with thousands of videos up on their page. Once those videos are made, the work is done. You're going to keep getting paid for those videos for life as long as they show up on the Amazon page. So it can be a great way to make some money for the long run with some upfront effort. Third way to make money on Amazon is something I've dabbled with a little bit myself in the past, last being Merch by Amazon. The way that Merch by Amazon works is you're able to go into your Merch account, upload designs that you've created. So you can hire virtual assistants, you can hire people from marketplaces like Fiverr, or you can design the shirts yourself. If you're a creative type, it can be kind of a fun outlet. And you can see, here's just like a basic example. Usually it'll be like cheesy sayings and things that pop up. When new pop culture events come up, there'll be a bunch of new Merch by Amazon designs that come up. And the nice part about this is you can see on here, it shows that Amazon Merch on Demand badge right here. And you don't have to physically store any of this inventory. All you're doing here in this case, this Modartis is like the merch company basically that has uploaded this design to Amazon. And then if someone buys this shirt, Amazon is going to make that custom print happen and then ship it out to the customer for you. So you're not actually messing with any shirts yourself, anything like that, but you're able to design some custom merch around whatever you want. And hopefully you're able to design something that pops up when people search it on Amazon. Of the more creative ways to sell on Amazon, between influencer merch and the next one I'm about to break down, probably my least favorite, but that might just be me. I'm a lot more partial to the more analytical ways to sell on Amazon and the more scalable ways we're going to break down later in the video. The major upside to Merch by Amazon though is similar to the Amazon influencer program, where once you have one t-shirt design that's really selling super well, it's typically going to keep selling really well for a decent amount of time, and you obviously aren't doing any new maintenance work, you're not redoing the design, you're not shipping anything out, so it is actually true passive income after you've done the initial work. The fourth way of making money on Amazon is the last way that I would say is primarily just creative driven, being Kindle Direct Publishing. What that looks like is designing your own custom book in Canva and a custom book software. Something that I've seen a lot of people do is design like coloring books and calendars and things like that. You can also see a lot of just honestly kind of weird books. You'll see stuff like this where it's like 20 pages. You can only buy it on Kindle, and it's like how to pay your bills with a promise to pay. I've got no idea what's going on here. I just saw this as a basic example of a really short book that someone wrote and is now selling only direct to Kindle. And in this case, this person is getting 10 bucks in revenue every time someone goes in here and buys this, which clearly people are because there's 22 reviews. Hey, it's working for somebody. Personally, this is the one of the 8 ways we're talking about I've actually never tried in terms of making money on Amazon. So maybe I'm sleeping on this. If you're really educated on this, you can let me know in the comments if I'm sleeping on KDP. But especially if the idea of designing planners and calendars and that kind of thing, those tend to be the more successful products that I see other people launching on Kindle Direct Publishing. If that sounds fun to you, I would definitely do more research on that. But that brings me on to Amazon method number 5, being retail arbitrage. And this is something I've done a ton on the YouTube channel here. So if you do like retail arbitrage, keep watching a ton of the videos I've got here on the channel. The basic gist of how retail arbitrage works is buying an item at a retail store like Ross, TJ Maxx, and then taking that item, listing it on Amazon, and selling it for a profit. I like to call this the treasure hunting method of selling on Amazon because it really does feel like a treasure hunt, digging through retail stores, finding stuff you can clear out the entire shelf and sell on Amazon. But it's way better demonstrated by actually just getting up and going to hit a local retail store right now. So let's go see if we can find some profitable items.
So again, scanning all these products with SellerAmp today, and I can see this guy is 10 bucks on sale, and it sells on Amazon right now for about 26 bucks. So buying it for 10, selling it for 26, we're gonna make about 5 bucks in profit. Not too bad at all. And I think this is in the wrong section. It's like a toy product. So what this tells me as I'm figuring out what is gonna be profitable today is that toys are probably decent. I'm gonna keep checking out some of this outdoor stuff, but definitely gonna check toys since literally the first one we scanned was good.
The outdoor section, I found this hat next, and this was on sale at their store for 20 bucks and is selling for 40 bucks on Amazon, so it's really close to profitable. So I definitely want to dig in on the data here. Scrolling down here to the past chart, I can see that right now it's been selling for about 40 bucks. If we check out the buy box history on here, so that's the past history where this item actually has made some sales at usually, you can see the buy box was at $53. So if it sells for 53 bucks, this is super profitable. Worst case, we're going to make $5 per unit. Best case, we'll make about 15 per unit. So this seemed worth the risk to me. Retail arbitrage is one of those great fundamental business models that'll teach you a ton about what name brand products sell on Amazon, and they really help you scale nicely into the next business models, where the last 3 business models are definitely the most expensive to start, but they're by far the most scalable. And specifically with retail arbitrage, you need to have $1,000 or so to buy plenty of name brand products. You also need to have money to use SellerAmp, which is the app you just saw me scanning products with, because without the data and being able to see what things used to sell for, not just right now using the Amazon Seller app, you're going to make some bad decisions where you need that consistent lifetime data of every product. And as far as the scalability of retail arbitrage, I do know some people that have fully scaled it out. They've hired people to drive around store to store for them. They're giving them buy lists. There are some really cool retail arbitrage operations out there. I've met some people that are even doing millions of dollars a year only scanning at retail stores, which I think is crazy, but it just goes to show that you can really scale any of these different business models if it fits your personality type. But for me, that's not something I wanted to scale, and that takes me on to business model number 6. This is personally the business model I still still use the most to this day being online arbitrage. And the way that online arbitrage works is going to sites like Nautica, for example, big brand name website. See, today they're running some kind of good sale. And then if I compare that exact same product to the Amazon listing, I can see that this is selling for 43 bucks on Amazon. And after my coupon code, I'm buying these for $20, which leaves me with about an $8.75 profit. And this is obviously a lot more scalable than retail arbitrage because we're not having to physically go out to the store. It can be 12 o'clock. You can have a 9-to-5 job that you're squeezing it on time. In fact, I have some awesome interviews here on the YouTube channel with people who have 9-to-5 jobs, a bunch of kids that they're taking care of, all that kind of thing. And they've still been able to scale to $50, $100K, $200,000 months when they're really able to crush it. And if you want to learn exactly how to do online arbitrage, I actually have a 4-hour long, completely free Amazon course on the channel. You can check that out after this video. And the easiest way for you to find some of these next winning products is to basically just look at what other people are already having success with, right? Because on this page, again, I use SellerAmp like we just used in retail stores. I also use it to source things online, and I can see what other Amazon sellers are having a lot of success with. I can go in directly to these listings and figure out what websites they might have bought these from, what wholesalers they might have bought these from, so that I can compete with these people and sell the exact same products just using the same product research ideas that they already had. Online arbitrage does have a decent learning curve because the process of finding profitable products is more about creating profit with things like coupons and discounted gift cards and cashback. So it's a little bit more technical, a little bit more tech savvy. And in order to get an efficient start, you do probably need $1,000 to $2,000 at least to spend on inventory and also the softwares like Boxum and SellerAmp that you'll actually use to run your business. But if you're anything like me and you like finding a good deal, just doing some online shopping, that kind of thing, it can be a really good way to make a very solid hourly rate if that's how you want to look at making money online, just by buying things from big websites and flipping those on Amazon. In fact, recently I've been doing some challenges here on the YouTube channel, sourcing products just like those, specifically focusing on brands that people like you who are new Amazon sellers, brands that you're also able to sell, challenging myself to see how much I can find in 15 to 20 minutes. And in one of the more recent videos, I actually found about $800 in profit in 20 minutes. Keep in mind that's with a few years of experience of learning how to do online arbitrage. So don't expect that in your first 20 minutes of doing online arbitrage, but you're never ever going to see someone making $800 in 20 minutes doing retail arbitrage or making Amazon influencer videos. These last three are where things really start to scale for yourself. And the natural progression for a lot of people who get to online arbitrage takes them into business model number 7, which is Amazon wholesale. Works pretty similarly to online arbitrage, where you're buying a bunch of name brand products in bulk, shipping those off to Amazon, letting Amazon ship those to your customers, except instead of buying from websites, we're buying from big major brands, wholesalers, distributors. As long as they are legit and authorized to actually be selling you that brand of products, you can buy from those distributors, typically in bulk, and it's usually way easier to spend a lot of money all at once on a good profitable item. I've personally sold several $100,000s on Amazon via the wholesale model. Most of my sales have been from online arbitrage, but I do really like wholesale for the scalability. Just for me personally, I've enjoyed the process of buying from websites, building a team to source these websites. That's just kind of what I like doing. Other people would massively disagree with me and say you should always just be picking up the phone, calling suppliers, calling brands. So if you're more of a relationship building type person, if you want to pick up the phone a lot, get told no a lot until you get one of those really nice, yeah, you can buy our products, they're profitable, that kind of message, wholesale can really be for you. The big thing to remember with wholesale is that, like I said, you're going to get told no a lot. Some of these companies say they don't want to sell to Amazon sellers or their prices aren't going to be good enough. So it's really about building that relationship and figuring out how you can add value to a distribution company, directly to a brand, in order for them to give you some leeway, give you some profit margin to actually work with. And if you're watching all the way here, I'll even give a specific shout out to one of my friends who is way more qualified to help you do Amazon wholesale. Check out Corey Ganem on YouTube if you want to learn a little bit more. Got an awesome free course, calling suppliers on YouTube. All those videos are awesome. But all that brings me on to business model number 8, being private label. And if you've watched any Amazon content at all, this is probably what you're first introduced to the concept of even doing Amazon FBA, because this is where people are buying things from Alibaba, Chinese factories, sometimes even American factories, and putting their own brand on those products, listing those products on Amazon, buying the ads, making the marketing, getting customers to the listing by using Amazon as your checkout page and fulfillment method, essentially. This air purifier we were looking at earlier as an example of the influencer videos is honestly a good example. So you can see this is like a Muka branded air purifier sold by Muka. You can see that there is one seller on this listing, and I'm also seeing that SellerAmp is saying, hey, this is a private label item. And there are some really big advantages to being a private label seller, like number 1, being the only person who's allowed to sell that product. If you are doing things like reselling shorts that we were looking at, for example, obviously you have competition to deal with. You have other sellers that can lower the price and change things on the listing. Whereas if you went ahead and did all the effort of making this picture and working with a manufacturer to get an air purifier at the lowest possible price and sending those into Amazon, that gives you the right to kick off other resellers on your listing and control everything about that product. And by far the biggest upside to doing private label is that it is a real asset that you own. You'll own the trademark, you own the product, you own the supply chain. And so that's actually something you can sell to someone. And there are some private label products on Amazon that have literally exited for tens of millions of dollars if you play your cards right. But obviously it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Otherwise, everyone would only be doing private label. And the biggest downside is that it's extremely expensive to launch a private label product, usually anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000, depending on minimum order quantities and what types of products you want to sell. And then also from conversations with my friends who are seasoned private label sellers, they'll even admit that maybe 1 out of every 3 or 4 products is actually going to be a success. So especially if you're a beginner, investing all of your money right away into a private label product, you're flipping a coin or even have worse odds at losing your entire startup budget. So that's where I see a lot of really smart Amazon sellers get started with things like online arbitrage or even wholesale. If you have a good amount of money, learn the business model, and then you can always use that reselling cash flow as a way to continually invest in creating your own products until something sticks. But if you are someone who already has prior business experience, you know how to market things, you know how to make things go viral, that can be especially helpful, and you're not scared of losing a little bit of money, that high risk, high reward angle of private label can be really effective for you. But now that we've broken down all 8 of the major ways of making money on Amazon, let me know down in the comments which one seems the most interesting to you. Let me know down there if you have any questions about the process of starting to make money on Amazon. Like I said, I've sold over $6 million on Amazon, so I've been able to have lots of conversations. At this point, I've also had conversations with thousands of new Amazon sellers, and it's always awesome to see you guys win. For the majority of people watching, I think the best business model for you to get started with is going to be retail or online arbitrage. That's just where I see the fastest success tend to happen. And if you want to learn how to start with $1,000 to $2,000 and scale that to $10,000 a month as fast as possible, click this video right here. It's a 4-hour long free course that'll show you how to do it.